Hello, everyone. This is Troy Davis with the YSN Network. Today, we are going to go inside the Canton Repository building here for the first press conference of the newly inducted 2025 Hall of Famers. We'll be starting off with Eric Allen, Sterling Sharp, Antonio Gates, and Jared Allen. Join us inside for this great interview.
So you guys were down like 49-7. You ran across the field and tackled. So what do you remember about that play?
Yeah.
It made a big impact on you.
Yeah, Ruben, we go way back. Once I started in Philly, you were there. But we had a strength and conditioning coach who was at ASU, and
Ronnie Jones.
Yeah, Ronnie Jones left and went to Philadelphia, and he told me specifically about that play. We were playing, I think, Cal Berkeley, and we were having a pretty bad game. It was late in the game. The guy breaks down the sideline, and from the other side of the field, I go and I track him down and get him before he gets into the end zone. So, for me, it's about the integrity of the game. It's like what you're supposed to do. All those drills you do in the off season, those pursuit drills, things like that, it just kind of kicks in. It's muscle memory. So it's just about, that's what you have to do and to respect the game. So Buddy talked a lot about that.
You think that's why I drafted you?
It may be one of the reasons. Maybe I just think overall that team that we had a tremendous group of players, very competitive in practice, and along with those things, that some things you can't teach. I think he saw some of those things in that individual play. Yeah.
But this is for Eric. Eric, how does it feel to be here and be the only cornerback for the Philadelphia Eagles to be trying
It's pretty special, just getting 379. That's kind of, and this year for me, I try to just make sure like the terms everybody kind of understood. There's context, right? There's safeties, there's DBs, there's cornerbacks. I always took a lot of pride in playing cornerback and being able to play either left or right or go inside, but I never wanted to transition and go to another position or safety or something like that. I always felt that the impact that I could have at the corners was something that could help the football team, in the end. So I think playing cornerback is really unique, and the way you have to approach the game, play the game, totally different if you're at safety. You have to deal with him after he catches the ball. I don't want to deal with Sterling after he catches it. I want to make sure he doesn't catch it. So that's why I took pride in playing cornerback.
was that your ability to be able to any stuff that you have?
Yeah.
Was that organic or is that something that's trained to program balls very well?
Yeah, and that's why I think we all can agree that it's never good to just be a one-sport guy. I think for me in high school playing baseball helped me with that because, yes, baseball's a team sport, but when you're up to bat, it's you and the pitcher. And I think that helped me in playing cornerback because, yes, it's a team sport, but if it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and you know where they're going with the ball and you're on that guy, it's you and him. So that skill set, and plus the coaches I had early on, preparation, talked about those kind of things, that I was able to hopefully play the game for the most part from the neck up, and so that's an important part of playing cornerback.
Brian Judd with Athlon for Sterling. When you think back at the great moments of all time, I'm just curious. I had to rewatch some highlights last night. I still can't get over that playoff game in 1994 against Detroit. How do you remember that? Just how magical performance?
Not very well. As players, it's really different from being a fan. As players, plays called, you understand the situation. We're trying to get in a position to kick a field goal, if I recall, and they blow a coverage. I mean, there's only two things that can happen. Either you catch it or you drop it. I don't look at it as a tremendous individual play like he would talk about playing corner, because I'm running a route and it's three clouds. So the corner sits and there's a safety directly behind him. Well, our tight end pops open and the safety sees him, so he jumps the tight end, which leaves me wide open. There's not a lot of practice in that. That's just a quarterback that didn't want to throw the ball to an open receiver and Mark Clayton on the left. That's a quarterback that didn't want to throw it to the tight end. It popped wide open over the middle. That's a quarterback that had a lot of trust in my abilities. And if he was going to go down, he was going to go down giving me an opportunity. And that's what happened.
This question, Jeff Riley with the Various Dynamics TV show. This question is for both of you. Take us through the moment you found out. What was your reactions and emotions?
I was more excited because the person was at the door, and Randall McDaniel. We have a long history. We went on a recruiting trip together in high school when we were like 15 or 16 years old. Just knew how, what a great player he was. And he may not tell you this, but he was probably a coach's decision away from getting his scholarship game because he was a tight end who couldn't catch. So
that ain't right.
Yeah. And so they moved him to guard, and I mean, like the first game, he like graded out like 100%, just phenomenal player. But so seeing my old friend was just like pure joy, and then kind of overwhelming, like, man, we're in here now. So it was kind of a surreal moment, but obviously it's something that once you get it, you're totally excited. You never know when you're going to get in or if you're going to get in, but once you do, you're totally excited and happy for yourself and all your supporters.
Mine was different because I had eye surgery. I had a detached retina. So I was dealing with not being able to see. So there's still a chance that I won't be able to see out of my right eye. So for me, I never really fully got involved in the process of joy and excitement and what it means and all that, because if someone would have asked me when I had eye surgery in October, you get to choose. You can have sight and keep your right eye, or you can be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. I would have chosen my sight and my right and kept my right eye. So I never really, in this journey, got a chance, because I've had 4 surgeries, only to find out last week that I now have a hole in my retina, so I'm probably set up for another surgery. So I never got the joy of being able to just deal with that, because I've always been dealing with, surgeries, pressure, cataract, detached retina, torn retina, now a hole in my retina. So I've always had to deal with that.
Barry Norman, Football Hall of Fame. It's better to go to the Hall of Fame, obviously. You're trying to go to the Hall of Fame. Talk about that extra step.
That's hard for me, because this is not where we come from. 2 little black boys from Glenville, Georgia, a town of about 2,500 people. This ain't a dream you have on the farm. This ain't a dream you have baling hay and corralling chickens and chasing hogs and picking tobacco. You don't have this dream. It is definitely, truly an honor, truly a blessing from God. I honestly am a firm believer that everything does not have to be articulated or explained. And I think this is one of them that is just a tremendous honor that you look at it the way you want. But I would be doing us. I would be doing the Hall of Fame. I would be doing this honor a tremendous disservice by trying to talk about how elated, excited, a champion that we are to be the first brothers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This is a lot bigger than any goal or dream that I think he or I had as kids.
Hey, Eric Rob, Associated Press. I grew up in Philly, and when I think of you, I just think of that interception against the Jets. And you handed the ball to Randall.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind in that moment when you gave him the ball? He's on crutches and he's in his own.
Yeah, as you know, Randall was like the ultimate weapon. Never really had an opportunity to kind of play and perform year after year and get that experience. You know, it was always, you know, great year, injured, great year, injured. So I'm not sure. I think we were maybe been tied or behind at that moment in the game. And as I'm breaking on the ball, the ball's like a little bit behind the receiver. So it was like I first need to catch it. Like,
Yeah.
So I have to find a way to catch the ball, and I kind of catch it like a back shoulder fade kind of, and I catch it and I turn around and my eyes look up because obviously, you know, defensive back, when you catch it, go to the nearest sideline, right? So I'm on the right sideline, I look up and I kind of see like players like walking off the field, like, oh, you know, he's getting an interception. And to me, I was like, what? They don't think I'm
You're gonna take it to the
they
house.
don't think I'm a hostess, right? So, you know, that's kind of when I started doing all the stuff. And so I'm, you know, breaking down the left sideline, and he's in the entrance and he's on crutches. And it's like, you know, just a moment of teammates kind of rallying around Rando, knowing that, yeah, the game is important, but, you know, our guy is probably out for the season. So kind of handing the ball. That was what I was thinking about.
You ever get it back?
No, I didn't. I'll ask him when he shows up tomorrow.
It's Sam Farmer from the LA Times. I want to ask you about one of your classmates. Antonio Gates is the first Hall of Fame player who didn't play a snap in college football.
Yeah.
Can you put that in perspective, just the difficulty?
No, no.
Man.
I mean, I really can't, because in everything in life, the way we were taught is you have to learn to follow before you can lead.
Yeah.
And so you got to learn to go through this step of disappointment of not being a running back, but being a safety, not being a quarterback or being a receiver. And for him to go from basketball into football at that level and then end up in the Hall of Fame, I can't articulate that. That is tremendous.
That's a great job for him. I think the story is he reached out to Nick Saban, who had recruited him, I guess, and had his pro day at Alabama. So he just kind of comes from the hoop court and has his pro day, and then the success he had, you know, being a San Diego native. I mean, he was just a tremendous, tremendous asset to that football team, and kind of was a big reason why the offense was so productive.
This question is for both you guys. They go to Machine with 1448 and KRYC Minneapolis. Thinking about on college, what is your guys' thought on the whole realignment, since you guys both played at Power 5 schools and the whole NIL process? Do you think it destroys recruiting? Because you have a great recruiting story all the way to the Hall of Fame there.
Yeah. I'm kind of mixed. I just, you know, I understand like players need the ability to be able to move just like coaches, but I'm just not educated enough in saying whether they should have some limit on it or something. I just don't know. I just know that players have the opportunity to move, and maybe just once they could go or something like that. I just don't know.
I don't have enough information. You know, our rules were, I'm sure there was a transfer portal, or you could, but you know, once we got at our school, there wasn't an opportunity to leave or thought of process to leave. So I don't have enough information to answer that either.
Frank Anderson, Sports Philadelphia. What kind of player was he?
That's an unfair question because he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So that's an unfair question. I would say he was really different at his position because as a receiver, it wasn't about me getting open or me blocking him. When I studied him, it was about keeping him honest. He was a guy that had very good knowledge of their system and who his help was and what his responsibility was, but he was always going to put himself in a position to make that play. So if we had two receivers and I'm supposed to outside release, if I don't outside release and make him believe that I'm a viable option, he's going to cheat and he's going to get a pick. And so he was one of the guys that was very difficult to play against because when the play goes away, usually the backside will take it off. Well, he was going to go and make the tackle. So it showed up on film that you had to keep him honest. And I don't think a lot of people talk about keeping a defensive back honest. He's here because he got great ball skills. But I'm guessing if he, however many interceptions he's got, I would say 3/4 of them are because he cheated and helped someone else. And that is a skill that is self-taught, that is film study, that is abilities. And as a receiver, that's very hard to deal with, to keep a guy like him honest.
James Simmons voice just had to be easier background. Just for starters, I got two questions. I mean, 7 seasons in the career, and your career is roughly 8 for that. I wonder, I have a high school driving car. Could you tell me about how impressive you were? Even impressive
You guys are amazing. What happened to just wanting to play? Not 10 years, not 20 years, not, you know what, I want to be a Hall of Famer. I want to be an All-Pro. I want to lead the league. I want to do all this. How about just playing? How about God gave me, if you would just allow me to get there, I just want to play. And I love when people say, well, if your career would have been shorter. Okay, so maybe if my career would have been shorter and you had a crystal ball and you could say I'd have 500 more catches and 45 more touchdowns, I go in the Hall of Fame 10 years earlier? What about Ian is in? What about what? I love how my career ended. I love how my Hall of Fame journey began, because my Hall of Fame journey began, no one ever talked about what I did. Everybody always, even now, talk about what I didn't do, which was, you didn't play long enough. Well, I'm sorry. That really is not what I asked for. All I wanted to do was play. I didn't do this for being poor in rural South Georgia, growing up in a house that didn't have running water. I didn't do it for that. A guy told me that, you know what a dream is? And I said, no, sir, what is it? He said, a dream is a gift that you give to yourself. I'm going to start. The only thing I do know about my Hall of Fame speech is I'm going to say this first. This is my life. There are many like it, but this one is mine. All the rest of that is for fans. That's water cooler. You can talk about what I could have, should have, and would have done. Compare me to Jerry, Andre, Tim, Calvin. Knock yourselves out. I got what I wanted. This, being here, this ain't for me. I got what I wanted. This is for family and friends. I get a chance to go in the Hall of Fame with a guy I had never met until the East-West All-Star game. And going up against him and talking with him after shower and practice at the hotel about, so what do you guys teach in technique and using that to make me a better player? This being here ain't about me. It's not. This is for family and friends that my grandparents didn't understand, wouldn't have understood what this is. My sister probably wouldn't have understood what this. My brother didn't understand what this was when I started playing football. That's what I wanted to do. That was for me. This is for them.
Hey guys, Troy Davis from YSN. You're about to have your bust in the Hall of Fame. Families will be bringing their kids through there. As they walk through and they look at your guys' bust, what do you want them to know about you?
Know about me?
Yeah, like when they look at you and they describe this man played the ultimate pro football game, and what's the one thing that you want to be remembered?
Well, I think my family already knows, what the deal is and what's important in my life. And I think that's, to piggyback on what Sterling was talking about, I think a lot of that is for the fan base, whether you're an Eagles fan, a Saints fan, or a Raiders fan, to validate them and their support of the type of football I played. But for my family and friends, they already know what the deal is. They know what's important to me. They know that, I like Sterling a lot, is I enjoy playing football. I really do. I love playing. You hear a lot of people talk about, what do you miss? The locker room? Yeah, locker room was cool. I can get that kind of anywhere. But the week of preparation to know that I'm going to get to go against Sterling and it's going to be on the tube and all my boys are going to be watching because this is what I wanted to do since I was 8 years old. That's really what it's about. And they all know that. So this is an opportunity to really thank all them for all the support, and it validates them in the fan base. But for the important people, they already know what's up.
Nothing. Because if I want you to know something about me, I'm cheating your dream. Because now you're going to try and do, what did I do to get here? What did I say to get here? Who were my friends and what did my family do to get here? I don't want you to know anything. I want you to go on this journey by yourself. I want you to enjoy your walk. I want you to enjoy this journey. I want you to enjoy the highs, the lows, the pitfalls, the people loving you and people booing you. I want you to go through that because when it's over, I want you to be able, and I used to say this all the time about not being in the Hall of Fame. I can have a conversation with anyone at any time about what I put on film because I was extremely pleased with what I put on film. Whether you agree, I'm not here because of what I did. There was a group of people that sat in the room that said, you know what? When I think back at and look at the numbers and what they mean and all that, I didn't have a vote to be here. So I don't want anyone going through to look at my bus to know anything about me. I want a kid to look, and if being in that room is what he wants, I want him to go with God on that walk by himself because he will have a greater appreciation for it when it's over, whether he gets there or not.
Your last question. I'll take that last one. How about behind you? Somebody raise your hand behind you. You haven't asked a question yet.
This is where you notice that some of the play that established in Philadelphia, can you still see those influences those techniques that are out there right now and that won that championship?
That's a good question. You're talking about the stylistics of play, and there's been ebbs and flows, right? The way we played, it was more of a balanced football game, right? You had a running game, you had a receiver at quarterback, everyone kind of played a part. And then for a little while, we kind of went run and shoot kind of situation. Now I think we're getting back to that 90s type of football, especially with the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, obviously. And usually there's going to be some copycats. The Lions play a lot of physical football. But defensive back wise, the game is different because we don't get the opportunity, or they don't get the opportunity to tackle as much. So that's the one part of the game that is kind of different that I think defensive backs are going to have to get back into is tackling, because I think the game's going to be more physical right now. But I love all the games played now. I love the fact that you're able to turn on the television and see receivers making incredible catches and running backs now again being able to take over the game. So I love the way the game's played, and hopefully those guys that we have talked to or watched us play have an appreciation of where the game was then and how it is now.
Thank you.
Now you can see every school, to the smallest school, to the intermediate schools, to the schools in the outlying areas. It gives you coverage that you could just never get to before. It's something that's great to experience, and it's opened up a whole new wave of sports viewership. The possibilities are endless here at YSN. Push the envelope every day. Try something new. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, let's try another angle, and we just keep moving forward. My name is Mike Ackelson, and my sports network is your sports network.
So, round two, Hall of Famers Antonio Gates, Jared Allen, and Steve, what's your vote?
Antonio Gates, the Lions are in town. We grew up right down the street. When it came to draft time, did they look at you? Did you want to be a Lion? What was your status as a Lions fan? The whole Lions experience for you?
including that they didn't spend one of their 11 draft picks on you that year.
Well, I wanted to go to the NBA, so I didn't want to play for the Lions. But yeah, we had some workouts. I think Marty Schottenheimer's brother was coaching for the Lions at the time, and if I'm not mistaken, Nick Saban had a relationship with him, so that's how my name came into the picture. Nick Saban made the comment that I think they went to Nick Saban and asked him, like like a normal scout would do, hey, what's some good players at? And he said, well, one of the better players is on the court. So the Lions did have workouts with me, so did Cleveland, and but Chargers was pretty adamant that I'd be a player in this league. So I ended up going with
Did
them.
you grow up on Chris Spielman?
Yeah, of course.
You were a linebacker.
Yeah,
for a while,
yeah.
He's in town today.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
do you relate to?
Of course, Chris Spielman was one of our hometown heroes. Unbelievable player. I watched him at Ohio State too. So I grew up with Chris Spielman, obviously Barry Sanders, Herman Moore, Robert Porcher. We would watch the Lions every chance we got. So that's the blue collar city, man. So we always support. That's how we do in the Midwest. You know that.
Sam Farmer, LA Times. So I wanted to ask you, Antonio, I talked to some of your college basketball teammates. They said you went out for one day of spring football at Kent State and said, this isn't for me. I don't like it. I don't want to play football. Do you recall that? And so what were your thoughts about football at that time?
Well, they had a kid named Josh Cribbs who was like running around with the football all the time. I don't know if y'all remember Josh Cribbs, but he was the quarterback. He played more of a running style. And so Coach Dean Pease at the time was the head coach. And Coach Dean Pease recruited me out of high school from Michigan State. So I remember when he was assistant at Michigan State. And so was Stan Heath too. So they both was assistants at Michigan State. What I did is I went out. I felt like it wasn't, my style of play wasn't conducive to what they were doing offensively with Cribbs. Every time I look up, Cribbs was running the ball, which he ended up going pros. That's an unbelievable player, but he wasn't a pocket passer, so to speak, your traditional style quarterback. So it just didn't fit the criteria of what I wanted to do at the time. They was pretty, they tried to lay the red carpet out for me, tell me I can still come out no matter what. And I felt the game of basketball at that time, I was a major piece for the Kent State Golden Flashes on the basketball court. I would have been a part of something essentially on the football field. So I felt like we had just made the Elite Eight run. I didn't feel like I wanted to break that cycle. We would just have, the momentum was so great in basketball. I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that to the guys who believed in me. And I just, I became a captain on the basketball court. So I decided to just stay with the basketball team.
Alex Heisman in Michigan now. This is for Antonio. I'm just wondering about kind of how growing up as an athlete in Detroit, influenced your journey overall.
Mm-hmm. Well, the city taught me a lot. Gave me my competitive edge, allowed me to deal with certain things, deal with adversity. I get a lot of things that I learned from the city itself that you can't see, the will to fight through pain when times get tough. So that's where I got that from. The blue collar, Detroit is a blue collar city. You work for everything you get. That's our motto, right? The plants and things of that nature. So I get that from seeing people go to work every day, striving for perfection for themselves and their families. And that's kind of the model that I had going into the NFL, is that I'm gonna work for everything I get. And that's really what I did. I kind of outworked everybody. I outlasted people. And when things got tough, things got hard, and guys started quitting, I kept going. And I think that's to sum up my career. When things got hard, people got tired, Antonio Gates just kept going. And that allowed me to keep flourishing in the game of football.
Jerry, Barry Wilner from Pro Football Hall of Fame. You played for 4 teams and had great contributions on all 4 teams. But did your role change on each of those teams? Maybe leadership-wise, or just how you played the game too?
No, I try not to let my role. Your role is dictated by your performance. And I like to say I played for like 3.5 teams. The last 2 years don't really count. No, I signed free agency with Chicago, right? systematically it changed when the organization, they got everybody on fire after my first year. And then, Fangio and Fox come in, fantastic coaches, great systems. Just, I'm not a stand-up outside linebacker, so I asked them to trade me to Carolina. I guess maybe the role in Carolina changed. I was still, still starting all that stuff. But, as you get older in this league, your role changes based on, again, on your performance, based on the locker room fit. As you get older, obviously you become more of a mentor. You still got to bring the young guys up. But no, I mean, I always looked at it, if I was on the field, I was supposed to be the best I could possibly be. I'm trying to help my team win. So my philosophy in the locker room was, you had 3 weeks a year to take my job. If you don't take my job in those 3 weeks, sit back and get into your role, because we're going to be on the field trying to make things happen. So I'm one of the, even though I played for 4 teams, I was never cut. Every team I went to, I signed in free agency or asked to be traded to. So my roles were always in a leadership role, and the expectations were always high. And so the reason I retired is because I wasn't willing to put the work in anymore to meet those expectations I had for myself. Sunday is always great. Monday through Saturday becomes a grind. You got to hang them up.
Antonio, Eric Smith, Charger.com. Have you had time to reflect at all about spending your whole career Charger, and why was that important that you did that?
Well, I think for me it was, although I played 16 years, I think it was always 1 year at a time, and I was fortunate. I don't want to take. I was very fortunate and lucky. I think to me, I was making an analogy earlier. It's like building a house. I was doing it brick by brick, 1 year at a time, one season at a time. I never let my past reflect on my present. I never let my future reflect on my present. I lived in the present moment every year. Every year I had to make the team. Every year I had to be the best version of Antonio Gates. Every year I had to improve. And I think I used that. And ultimately, I ended up tallying up 16 years. So it wasn't like I came into the league saying, I'm about to play my whole career. I'm about to be the first. Nah, you really don't know how things, out of your control happens. You know what you can control. And I think it's a testament of just the respect that the organization had for myself. And it's a testament of my sacrifices that I was able to make that allowed me to play 16 years.
Antonio, Hank from 3 Fair to Go in Akron. First,
You say Akron?
yeah, from Akron. So hold on. So
I didn't know y'all was allowed in here,
hold
man.
on.
What you doing? I'm just messing with you.
My daughter enrolled at Kent State. So
Okay. Oh,
she's
you
from
gotta
Akron.
tell me something. You gotta tell me something good. No,
So she starts next year. So I guess that makes me a Golden State.
okay, yeah, there we go. Go to Flash.
All right, the wagon wheel's been a little tight.
Yeah, that's good.
But the question is really for both of you guys. So, especially from your school perspectives, how in today's day and age of NIL, social media, what's your advice to give to these kids to get noticed? Because there's a lot of kids that get drafted that you've never heard of before. Kids from Bowling Green, like the Browns just picked one up, right? Mm-hmm. So, what's some of your advice to some of these players to get noticed on the national level?
Be really good at your sport. Social media, all the hype and everything like that only works if you're good. So I tell kids all the time, focus on football. The rest will take care of itself. If you're a really, really good football player, you'll be found. If you're a really, really good football player, you'll be paid. You start focusing on the outside stuff. You start your motivations to get paid, your motivations to be recognized. You want to be a social media star. You're not focusing on football or your craft. So be really, really good at your craft and let the rest take care of itself.
Well, it's all in the work at the end of the day. School don't make the players. The players make the school. And I feel that was our philosophy at Kent State. That's why we had the success that we had. A lot of us did go to big schools and big universities, and I did too. I came out and went to Michigan State, and what I learned by making the transition from Michigan State to Kent State is that a lot of those kids have a chip on their shoulder when they get to these Mid-American conferences, but the talent level is still there. And I think it's all in the work at the end of the day. It's all in the sacrifice. No matter who you are, can you work? Are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to do the things to make you a better person, a better player? And everything it works itself out at that point.
We'll go here and we'll go over there.
Antonio, did you ever, Chargers signed you for $7,000, undrafted. Did you ever feel like when people in the building thought, what are you doing? And Should this be a defensive end also?
Well, they only gave me 7,000, so yeah, of course I thought I would be gone. I was on the first day smoking. If I didn't play well, just so imagine that kind of pressure, getting $7,000, and then you end up starting as a rookie. So I mean, apparently, but no, the answer to the question is that I seen guys get cut that I thought was was really good, and again, it goes back to my saying. You got to focus on what you can control because you never really know. You never know what's on the other side of the tunnel. I would come and I would read the playbooks because I didn't know the terminologies was not the same. It wasn't pick and roll. You know what I'm saying? Box out. They were having the whole, it was just so I had to learn the terminologies. I had to learn how to get the stance. And you know what I mean? So it was just so many layers to the game of football that I was just oblivious to that I realized that, just do your best, Antonio Gates. And my best was good enough. And that's the philosophy I tell my kids all the time. You go out and you be and try to do your best. And everything else will unfold the way it's going to unfold. And I think that's all you really can do in anything you do. As a reporter, you just do your best and let it unfold the way it's going to unfold.
You've been a pass rusher.
I mean, Nick Saban thought I was a good pass rusher. So, I mean, I don't think Nick Saban recruited this guy. So, you know what I'm saying? So that's saying a lot right there. You know what I'm saying? Nick Saban recruited me as a pass rusher. Last I checked, he was one of the best college coaches in history.
Nick Saban didn't last very long.
Yeah.
Nick Saban's a great college coach. Not for long in the league.
Know, Nick Saban recruits you. That's saying a lot, So
I think Nick
I like
Saban
to think I was a good part.
You were a great tight end. They made the right decision.
Right. I know. Thanks, man. Yeah.
Along the journey to the Hall of Fame, coaches, family, teammates, can you highlight a little bit about people that made an investment that got you here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a long list. You probably hear in our speeches. It's family, it's friends, it's coaches, mentors, whatever that looks like for people. So nobody gets up here by themselves, period. And so, I'm sure Antonio, Eric, Sterling, myself, we'll have people we want to recognize in our speeches. But yeah, I mean that's what makes sports, especially team sports, so cool. You cannot do it on your own. So you have to have great coaches. You have to have great people in your life. You have to be there making sacrifices, whether it's driving you everywhere, workouts, trainers. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So I could name 3 or 4 people for every team I've played for since Pop Warner that I thought were a part of this. And then there's people just in your life that keep you straight to get you where you need to get to. Yeah, that's a loaded question with a lot of answers, but that'll get answered for the most part on Saturday.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's people that pour into your life for sure. When I look back on it, the people who kept me on a straight and narrow path were the ones I did not like, if that makes sense. The ones who were cursing me out, yelling at me, the coaches that always was on my butt, like, come on, you got more. Yeah. Those are the ones that I tend to love now. Although I had friends that was, it's like friendships, right? It's the ones that pay you, people that ain't willing to tell you, you gotta do better. They may, you can still love them and have, care for them, but the ones I actually love now, in my mind, I couldn't stand Coach this. But he was able to see that in me. And I'm like, Coach, why you making me run another suicide, but they ain't doing it. But he like, no, but you running another one. You the one go catch some more passes. You dropped it. Go shoot some more free throws in my those are the ones that I talk about in my speech. Because some of them is not still ain't here, but Coach Woody Thomas, he would always tell me, you're special. You need to go do some more work. I'm like, Coach, I'm lifting. Yeah, you should be the last one leaving, Antonio. You should be doing extra stuff. And I couldn't stand, I hated to see Coach Thomas. Because I know he was going to make me do more, and everybody be gone, dressed up. And he'd be like, no, you got some more. You got to make 20 free throws. You're the only one. And I couldn't understand it. But now I got my kids. So I said, okay, you was able to see something in me. And that's just the beauty of sports. It's what you see in others. It's like you're holding certain people accountable, and it's a criteria based on what you see in them. You know what I mean? You know, I got a daughter, right? She's she's an unbelievable student. And she come home with, a B, right? And she's like, well, I had a B. You didn't say nothing to A, then he had a B. And I'm like, no, but you're an A student. And I think that's the beauty of the people that's poured into you, is they know what you're capable of because they can see you differently than you see yourself. And I think those are the people that you get a chance to thank come Saturday.
Well, here, Gary, Jeff Croyle, Gary Stein, and Stephen Show, Minnesota. This is for Jared. Living in Minnesota, I've seen it firsthand what you have meant to the Vikings organization and the fans in Minnesota. What has the organization and the fans meant to you?
Oh, everything. Coming to Minnesota, coming out of a time where I never thought I was going to leave Kansas City, and learning a hard lesson in the business of football that, loyalties aren't always matched. And so to get to an organization that, at the time had to give up a ton of draft picks, make me the highest paid player in defensive player in NFL history. And then not only that, give me the support and surround me with the people to help me grow as a human being. Minnesota's everything to me. The organization is fantastic to this day. The Will family does a great job of hiring people. I think their philosophy of making sure they have good people around the building is what sets the organization apart. I know we haven't won the Super Bowl yet or done really well in the playoffs. We'll get there. But I mean, you look at Kevin, Coach O'Connell. You look at Rob Brzezinski. You look at Kwesi. The people that they have there, they're amazing, and they all have a common mission in mind. And so I think, that's what it meant to me. I mean, and you see, it wasn't just when I was there. It's continued. The fans are fantastic, and I think especially in the Midwest. Antonio brought it up. When you're in Middle America, and there's a certain value system, right? And people appreciate authenticity, especially in the Midwest. I think people across the country do, but Midwest values are a little different. People want to be real. And that's what Minnesota, that's what I was able to give to them. I think that's why the relationship has been reciprocated so well, is that I was authentic, the community's authentic, the organization's authentic, and as long as they keep that going, they're gonna have success.
I'm gonna bury and I'm gonna finish with this one.
Jared, you sacked a lot of quarterbacks in your career. Was there one guy you just couldn't get on the ground, and why?
If I didn't get him, it wasn't my fault. No, I'm trying to think which ones I didn't get on the ground. Let's see, I didn't get McNair. I only played Ogden once.
Big ones by himself. Let's say Culpepper or some.
No, Culpepper went down easy, surprisingly or not. The toughest one to get on the ground was it, I don't want to pronounce it. Was it Jared? Was it Jared or Gerard from
Jacksonville?
Yeah, from Jacksonville. Yeah. That dude had it.
Gerard or something like that.
Yeah, I forget his first name, but Gerard was David Gerard. There we go. David, I apologize for messing up your name. That dude I hit hard several times, and he would not go down. And I got fined for tackling him too hard, that's a whole nother story. The guy that wouldn't go down, I got a fine for sacking him too hard. So that was probably the only one. Which one did I like sacking the most? Every single one of them, because they're pompous. They're all overpaid, pompous. You're right, quarterbacks. You heard it. It's supposed to be a joke. It's okay. You can laugh at the whole thing. It's okay. No, I loved every single one of them. Tackle them. But the mobile quarterbacks are always a little more tough.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Last question here.
Yes, D. Orlando, Ledbetter, Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Hey guys, as the day gets closer, what are your emotions as you're about to get the jacket tomorrow night and be enshrined in the hall on Saturday?
Oh, well, obviously I've been doing pretty well leading up to yesterday, today. So this morning I woke up, I started feeling that bubble gut feeling, like it's the real moment, like a game. And so I know I'm still human because I hadn't felt no emotions up until this point. It started to come to light. This thing is starting to get real to me. And I treat it like a game anyway. That's what I've been doing. I said I was going to try to treat it like a championship game, a MAC championship game, or, what I'm saying? I remember our Sweet 16 run, and it was like all these fans, and I just know at the end of the day, you got to just be you. And it's all said and done. I try to do the same routine that I would do in any game. trying to not get too high on myself, get too low on myself. Take my same approach for the most part, and be Antonio Gates and have fun. I mean, this is a celebration. Get to see some of my family. You never really know. You can't prepare. So it's like, you can't really prepare for this moment because it's growth. This is a growing moment for all of us. We're going to be in a space that we would never be in again for the first time. So, I go out, I take a deep breath, and I just, I don't know if I'm gonna cry, if I'm not gonna cry. I don't know if I see somebody crying, it's gonna make, I don't know what else gonna happen. But I do know I'm gonna be the best version of Antonio Gates like I've been all the way up until this point.
Yeah, I just try to take things as they come in front of me. We'll see what happens on Saturday. I think for me, the most emotional times where you get goosebumps or you really start to sink in is the intimate moments you have with other Hall of Famers. The receptions where you're talking to guys that you watched as a kid, or you meet the widow of someone that's passed, and you see the family connections. That's what I've been enjoying the most. That's what I think represents the Hall the best, is the relationships. We got to get through the parades and the frills and stuff like that. So for me, I think the real emotions or feelings will come when it's all said and done. And you get to take a deep breath, and you're sitting there with your gold jacket on, and you're looking across the room, and you got Warren Sapp, Randall McDaniel, Jan Stenerud, you got Willie Lanier, and you get to share stories with these guys, and you get to hear their journeys, right? And guys that you looked up to at one point as a kid, you're on the same team now. So that's what I've been appreciating. But as far as emotions, I don't know. As long as I guess my kids don't start crying, then I'll probably be all right. Who knows? I might love her like a baby. Who knows? My family gives me a hard time. Like, you're like the least emotional person there is. But like I'm just having fun. We're gonna have fun. I'm interested to see what everybody has to say, and be awesome. So have a good time.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. All right, now you've got a chance to meet your new Hall of Famers for the class of 2025. Join us all week long on YSN to see more from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the enshrinement, and all the activities that are going involved in Canton for this great football celebration. I'm Troy Davis with YSN.